the music, the nightlife industry is a very, very fast-moving industry, and you've got to be, ahead of the curve all the time. And they've kind of managed that for many, many years. So it holds a special place in the hearts of minds of tens of thousands of Sheffielders of different generations.
The Leadmill is the longest running live music venue and nightclub in Sheffield, and was first opened in 1980 in a former flour mill, which was originally a community centre. It initially hosted plays, education and training workshops and live music. Over the last 43 years, the landmark has hosted live music, comedy nights, theatre productions, record fairs, cabaret, drag shows and talks. Some of its early gigs included performances by Jimi Hendrix and Small Faces as part of the Esquire, which was a 1960s club. King Charles III, then Prince Charles, visited the Leadmill in 1988 and described it as a building well restored. In the 1960s, the Leadmill became the Sheffield venue of Gatecrasher before launching its own house night, Rise, where Sheffield's own Arctic Monkeys sold out in 2005, faster than any other band. Today we celebrate the Leadmill and what it means to Sheffield.
I think Leadmill was one of the earliest places that I ever went to see a gig. One of my favourite bands in the early 80s was a band called the Dead Kennedys, American punk band. And I was in raptures when I heard they were coming to Sheffield, and I was still at school. I was in the sixth form. I was actually living in Chesterfield, which was kind of obviously a bit of a journey away when you're a 15-year-old. Anyway, I got wind that the Dead Kennedys were visiting this place I'd never heard of, called the Leadmill. Got together with friends at school, and we all made the journey to this. And I do remember it was absolutely rammed. So I think it would have been 1981, and I've still got the ticket. It was it had this playing card on it, the Leadmill Dead Kennedys. The place was absolutely rammed. I was 15. I didn't drink at that point, but I just remember a lot of my friends complaining because there was no bar on. So I'm assuming that was maybe whether they'd not got the license that night or whatever, or say it was very much a venue in its infancy. Anyway, I was kind of got quite hooked on the Leadmill in its early days. I was really into my punk rock at that point, so I remember seeing a whole host of acts like, but saying that, I think Peter and the Test Tube Babies are actually on the Dead Kennedys bill. But anyway, I remember I went quite a few times, and I always remember being standing those really kind of creaky turnstiles, which I still remember. I presume are they still there? I'm not sure, but I remember it was all very political in there, very with like the imagery, and it's all very kind of arty. And I remember the kind of, I think the cafe at the back, lots of vegetarian food, but felt very much at home there. And I remember, I think some of the earliest I used to frequent between the Leadmill, the Limit on West Street, and Rebels Rock Club. So I was kind of around all the time. But like I say, I went to the Leadmill really loads of times. It was always very cheap. I think there was lots of subsidies for the unemployed. Real kind of mixture, and I've still got some of the old flyers, some of the photocopy flyers. I remember Martin Bedford, who used to do the amazing iconic posters in the early days. I remember just seeing those around Sheffield when I was wandering. I remember I lied to my parents. I said I was going to the school disco just down the road in Brampton in Chesterfield, but I'd actually hopped on the train and got to the Dead Kennedys. But I saw the gig, it was amazing, and I had an exam the following morning, one of my GCSEs, and I passed it. So before the Leadmill, it was the Esquire, which really shows what kind of music was in its DNA right back to the early 60s. It was the Esquire Club. That actually came from an even earlier club called Club 60 on Shales Moor. That opened in 1960, and they kind of developed a name for kind of blues acts, kind of beat club, kind of pop music, and it got that popular. They decided to look for a new venue, and they stumbled on the first floor of the Leadmill building. So they really had the knack of capturing iconic acts on the way up, to be achieving national, international fame. Something the Leadmill has kind of carried on throughout its year. but it was also amazingly the resident musician at the Esquire was somebody called it's the one and only became better known as Joe Cocker, the former gas fitter. So he kind of cut his teeth at the Esquire, providing kind of support acts, but they had some massive acts that went on to be major names down there, you know, kind of I think kind of bands like the King, Sonny Boy, Williamson, blues artists coming over from the States. They had all sorts, and I remember within a few weeks of the Esquire opening, they got a membership. So those days you had a membership card. I remember it was only a teenage club, no alcohol, it was just like teas, coffees, soft drinks. Within a few weeks of opening, they got a membership of 45,000, which was, you know, so it just shows, you know, there's obviously a bit of magic in that, those bricks and mortar down there. In terms of you know, it's been there for decades. It's very, very rare that, you know, nightlife venues, you know, have that kind of lifespan. It's very rare that generations of the same family will be frequenting the same venue, and it's you know, you have to work very, very hard. You know, obviously the music, the nightlife industry is a very, very fast moving industry, and you've got to be, you know, ahead of the curve all the time. And, you know, they've kind of managed that for many, many years. So it holds a special place in the hearts of minds of, you know, tens of thousands of Sheffielders of, you know, of different generations. I think probably the Leadmill's kind of ability to really kind of not see anything off limits. I remember a performance by David Icke down there, you know, all the kind of conspiracy theories. It was absolutely rammed, and I didn't realise an old mate of mine was then his publicist. I had no idea. So that was a really interesting evening of catching up with an old friend, seeing Mr. Icke in action. Another one I remember from the rise of the grunge period, the Jim Rose Circus, which was like this very, very alternative circus kind of freak show where there'd be chainsaws flying around, people tying themselves up, pretending to chop limbs off, and all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, lots of fond memories of the Leadmill in all sorts of shapes and forms.
Back in May 2023, Sheffield welcomed home its greatest rock stars, Def Leppard, with an intimate celebration show at the Leadmill, and we spoke to fans after the gig to see what they thought.
Absolutely amazing. Just seeing them in such a small, condensed space, it was just electric.
I don't know how many times you've seen Def Leppard already.
Oh God, I'm getting on for 100 times now. I'm old. You know.
30s, 40s,
Yeah.
Go online. Where does it rank as far as all those go? I mean, where does this go?
This is in the top 5, definitely.
Huge now, and
Yeah.
it's a really small, intimate gig, and it's just, you just don't get it.
To see them somewhere like this, it'll never happen again.
It's once in a lifetime, wasn't
Yeah.
it? You know what I mean? That way you think of a whopping 10 years ago, but it's once in a lifetime. This kind of thing. It don't happen every 5 years or 10 years. Once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Just come straight out. What is it about Def Leppard? What makes it special?
They're really nice people. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just good guys.
They're proper, just normal guys. They're not, you know, they haven't got airs and graces and everything. They're just, you know, normal people like we are.
And they're writing songs, let us know if we get it.
Just the musicianship.
Oh yeah, there's the talent as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't forget the talent.
If you had any words for them, what would they be?
Thank
Just
you.
keep doing what you're doing. We love you.
Yeah.
You've got at least another 40 years left in you.
They've kind of been the soundtrack to our lives, you know, and it's just been amazing.
We need a bomb thing. We need.
Well, they've done a good one.
We've got them on down the Highlands. We need them now to be.
In terms of the shout, give it a go.
Mirror, mirror, wasted. Wow. Wow.
I cried.
Iconic.
I cried.
Probably one of the most intimate gigs they've ever given. How was the set list for you?
It was really good. Really good set list. And there was a false set list gone round before the gig started as well.
Yeah.
And then they came out and put the proper set list down, and it was like, whoa.
Got a lot of people out with that.
Were there any surprises?
Mirror, mirror is magical. Wasted. Absolutely.
Wasted.
I've got to say, I mean, Pour Some Sugar's considered the signature tune, but Wasted for me is...
I'll take another heartbreak as well.
How many gigs have you been to before with that?
About 50.
Where does this one rank?
Top.
Hey.
Top for me.
It's not very often you get to see a band like that in such a small venue. So that's what makes it special.
If there's something you want to say to them, what would it be?
Right, thank you, boys. And Viv, you are the magic man. That's all you need to know.
They need to do more shows.
You are the
that's
magic
all.
man.
He's a big fan, like It's been an honour and a privilege to be in the Def Leppard book.
I have been, but not in a while.
It is a good night out.
Yeah, it's a good
I like
Friday,
it. It's
yeah,
a good night.
Friday,
It's
yeah.
quite far because I live in Enfield. It's quite far of a walk. Like in home, it's like freezing.
Yeah.
But it is a good night.
I like the cards that they do. It's like, you know, you're a member of the Leadmill, you get your free, like your drinks and your cheap shots.
Yeah.
It's always packed as well. It's very busy.
It's a good like student place and it's so cheap as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the music's good.
Do you normally go for like club nights or for gigs?
Club nights.
Club
Yeah.
nights, yeah. If you were going to a gig at Leadmill, who do you want to see?
I don't know. Depends what they do. Do they do like, is it like more indie or like?
Yeah, I think it's quite a mix actually. They had Def Leppard there a few months ago. They're quite like a heavy rock band.
Oh, I'm not into that.
Not into rock.
Chris Moyles was there as a DJ last month.
Do you know who Miss Chris Moyles is? And yeah, I didn't think that reaction made me think I had no clue.
It was someone with a celeb.
Oh yeah, But if it was someone that I knew, then I'm sure like
Yeah.
I took it.
He was here.
Oh my god.
It's rare that a live music venue stands the test of time, but since the 1980s, the Leadmill has transformed the careers of Pulp, Reverend and the Makers, Coldplay and Arctic Monkeys, to name but a few. It really is a Sheffield icon.